Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, world patriots alike. Today we're going to come to you with some taxes information, a new HR bill, some congressional stuff that might actually be in the interest of the public. This is a public service announcement. If you are hearing this video, please listen and stay tuned to the end. There's a whole lot of information coming about. This is about the 116th Congress and a bill proposed called HR 25. And without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. I got a beautiful article that summarizes everything, and then I got the Congressional website itself, and then we're going to go over it from there too. Stay tuned with me. Bear with me. This is going to be a good one. So on January 3rd, 2019, the House proposed HR 25, a Fair Tax Act of 2019, a bill that will destroy the IRS and privately operated Federal Reserve forever. They are gonna bring them down, folks. Get out there, contact your congressman, woman. Let them know how you feel in regards to this, because this will change the way we Americans live forever, or at least in the near future. For our kids' sake, you should probably pay attention to this information. Anyways, so this is a health and money news, and it was published January 15th, 2019. It's only got 4 comments so far. It means it's pretty dang fresh. Today is the 15th of January. 116 Congress, first session. To promote freedom, fairness, and economic opportunity by repealing the income tax and other taxes, abolishing the Internal Revenue Service, and enacting a national sales tax to be administered primarily by the states. What does that really mean? So, we're going to repeal income tax, which is unconstitutional to begin with, and other taxes. Interesting. So how are we going to take care of everybody? Let's read on. These men and women are the new Americans. I'm not going to read all these people, but these people are looking out. And here's the purpose, according to this article, for this new bill. Pay attention, folks. To raise revenue needed by the federal government in a manner consistent with other purposes of the subtitle. To tax all consumption of goods and services in the United States once, without exception, but only once. To prevent double, multiple, or cascading taxation. To simplify the tax law and reduce the administration cost of and the cost of compliance with the tax law. Number 5, to provide for the administration of the tax law in a manner that respects privacy, due process, individual rights, and interacting with the government. The presumption of innocence in criminal proceedings and the presumption of lawful behavior in civil proceedings. To increase the role of state governments in federal tax administration because of state government expertise in sales tax administration. To enhance generally cooperation and coordination among state tax administrators, and to enhance cooperation and coordination among federal and state tax administrators, consistent with the principles of intergovernmental tax immunity. Congress further finds that the 16th Amendment to the United States Constitution should be repealed. I agree. That is unconstitutional. Anybody who's not read the 16th Amendment, read it. It destroys the American way of life. It's horrible. We're supposed to be a nation of laws, and this is very much unlawful, and it's been going on for a long time, and nobody's said anything. So anyways, it gives you a brief summary, and I'm going to read it to you. The 16th Amendment was ratified February 3rd, 1913, just after the Federal Reserve Act was approved by Woodrow Wilson. These 2 acts shackled Americans unconstitutionally to an unfair tax code that would lead to financial slavery. For 400 years, it had to be a choice. Isn't that what that guy said? This was the plan of the Rothschilds banking cartel. The 16th Amendment played the central role in building up of the powerful American federal government of the 20th century by making it possible to enact a modern, nationwide income tax. Before long, the income tax would become by far the federal government's largest source of revenue. This amendment was part of the wave of federal and state constitutional amendments championed by the progressives in the early 20th century. Progressives like Presidents bankers Teddy and Franklin Roosevelt. The amendment also read as follows. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without appointment among the several states. Yeah, the several states is basically the representation of we the people, without regard to any census or enumeration. Yeah, we're going to do whatever we want, and you guys are going to just sit back and be slaves. This repeal would give back the power to the people and the states, the several states, not the state of, the way our forefathers intended it. This massive expansion of the federal government was never supposed to happen. Our founders knew it could happen. However, they made provisions in the Bill of Rights to be attached to the Constitution as a safeguard for the people. They created a government that was intended to be enslaved by the sovereigns of the republic, me and you, we the people, not the other way around. As we see, it did not work. Excuse me for that. Never mind Trump's state of emergency, we have been under martial rule since the Lieber Code. You don't know what the Lieber Code is? Go look it up. Went into effect in 1863, although Abraham Lincoln enacted the very first presidential executive order in 1861, declaring a state of emergency and martial law due to the breakout of Civil War crisis. Martial law supersedes the Constitution. Lincoln intended to withdraw from this order after the war was over, bringing back the rule of law, constitutional law, that is. He was murdered just 5 days after the war ended. He never got a chance to reinstate the Constitution. This was planned. Upon succeeding the throne, Andrew Jackson failed us miserably. He turned his back on America and placated the bankers. The Constitution was never reinstated again. This was the plan. The USA became a corporation under the despotic banking cartel that quickly moved in 1871 under President U.S. Grant. This was the beginning of the end of the constitutional America and the beginning of civil slavery for every man, woman, and child who had become the possession of the United States, Inc., or Incorporated. This is also an act you can go look up for yourself. It's called the Act of 1871. As a civilian, not a sovereign, this distinction coined the 14th Amendment ratified in 1868. This was the plan. Make everybody slaves. Reader, the Civil War was fomented by the European bankers. They created a false war just like they did in France, the French Revolution, and would eventually do in Russia. This is their playbook. They have done it numerous times over the course of hundreds of years. They're doing it again right now in America. Every person in Congress knows these truths. To what extent remains to be seen. However, they understand the essence and having been playing with us for fools all this time, have been playing us for fools this whole time. The events of the Civil War eventually led to Woodrow Wilson and the Federal Reserve Act, and then the 16th Amendment giving Congress, Inc., Incorporated, complete authority over Americans' financial future. This was the plan. This is where we should have thrown off the tyranny of the ever-growing monster that has become the federal government. As stated in the Declaration of Independence, with the use of our First and Second Amendments, we should have collectively revolted and ran them out. This is what our forefathers prescribed. It was in our playbook. We failed, just like Andrew Johnson. We effing failed. The bravery of those men who put their lives on the line just by signing the Declaration of Independence, these 27 men and women on H.R. 25 are the equivalent of those brave souls. Let me tell you why. H.R. 25 is not to be taken lightly. It destroys the 16th Amendment. Yeah, no more taking money and giving it to other people. The IRS works directly for the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve sends all of our tax money to the BIS. From there, it goes to the Vatican and eventually London. This is the tyranny. This is it. What does H.R. 25 imply? The men and women who signed this bill have their neck in a noose. Nobody has ever survived this. Well, there was Andrew Jackson. He actually survived the attempted assassinations by the banking cartel. He died peacefully at the end of an age. But I digress. Read the bill. We're going to read that in a minute. Applaud these brave men and women who present this bill to the Congress. This is unprecedented in our age. Our future is riding on actions like these that bring back the rule of law. This is one step to the financial reset they will keep talking about. It's either reset or World War III. Believe nothing, believe everything, stay vigilant. Love the way they ended that, but there was a guy who made a comment, and I just wanted to bring it out to you guys because this person is on point. If our gangster deep state government allows this to happen, it will be almost miraculous. Having spent an entire 85 years under the two mafia-controlled governments, our East Coast European Israeli, now the Republicans, and our Texas So-American opium, now Democrats, I am thrilled to have lived to see this come about. Sir, Don Draper, if you're hearing me, we all hope for this. I'm going to take you now over to the Congressional website, congress.gov. It says it's a bill to promote freedom, fairness, and economic opportunity by repealing the unconstitutional income tax and other tax, abolishing the Internal Revenue Service, and enacting a national sales tax to be administered primarily by the states. Dear God, I do hope that means the several states and not the state of corporate world. But this is a step forward nonetheless. So now I'm going to read through some of the findings that they have and then jump right into it. Congressional findings. Findings related to the federal income tax. Congress finds that the federal income tax retards economic growth and has reduced the standard of living of the American public. Yes, how many of you guys give out 40 or more percent of every dollar you bring in gas tax or income tax or sales tax? I mean, we lose about 50% of our money there. This doesn't bother you people? Impedes the international competitiveness of the United States industry. Reduces savings and investment in the United States by taxing income multiple times. Slows the capital formation necessary for real wages to steadily increase. Lowers productivity. It imposes unacceptable, unnecessary administrative and compliance costs on individual and business taxpayers. It is unfair and inequitable. Unnecessarily intrudes upon the privacy of civil rights under the United States citizens. Hides true costs of government by embedding taxes and costs of everything Americans buy. It is not being compiled with the satisfactory levels and therefore raises the tax burden on law-abiding citizens and impedes upward social mobility. B. This is payroll taxes. Congress finds further that Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes and self-employment tax to raise the cost of employment, destroy jobs, cause unemployment, and have disproportionately adverse impact on lower income Americans. Don't worry. If you're on Social Security and Medi-Cal, it's going to be paid for within this, except for it's just being paid for differently. And we'll find that out here in just a second. Estate and gift taxes. Congress finds that further federal estate and gift taxes force family businesses and farms to be sold by the family to pay such taxes, discourage capital formation and entrepreneurship, fosters the continued dominance of large enterprises over small family-owned companies and farms, and impose unacceptably high tax planning costs on small businesses and farms. Findings related to a national sales tax. Congress finds further that broad-based national sales tax on goods and services purchased for final consumption. In many respects to the sales and use of taxes in place in 45 of the 50 states, will promote savings and investment. It will promote fairness. It will promote economic growth. It will raise the standard of living. Will increase investment. will enhance productivity and international competitiveness, will reduce administrative burdens on the American taxpayer, it will improve upward social mobility, and will respect the privacy interests of civil rights of taxpayers. Findings related to the administration of national sales tax. Most of the practical experience administering sales taxes is found in the state government level. It is desirable to harmonize federal and state collection and enforcement efforts to the maximum extent possible. It is sound tax administration policy to foster administration and collection of federal sales tax at the state level in return for a reasonable administration fee to the state. And businesses that must collect and remit taxes should receive reasonable compensation for doing so. So now they're going to pay the businesses. That's awesome. To collect the taxes. So everybody wins here. It's awesome. If we the Title 1, repeal of the income tax, payroll tax, and estate tax as gifts. This is amazing. Income taxes repealed. As of the Internal Revenue Code 1986 relating to income taxes and self-employment taxes is repealed. No more of that. Payroll taxes repealed. In general, Subtitle C of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 is repealed. Funding of Social Security. For funding of the Social Security trust funds from general revenue, see Section 201 of the Social Security Act. 42 U.S.C. 104. We're going to repeal it. Estate and gift taxes repealed. Conforming amendments effective date. Internal Revenue Code of 1986 is amended by striking Subtitle H relating to financing of presidential election campaigns and by redesigning Subtitle D relating to malicious exercise of taxes as Subtitle B, Subtitle E relating to alcohol, tobacco, and certain other excise taxes as Title C, Title F relating to the procedure and administration as Title D, Title G. This is all code related, but relating to the Joint Committee on Taxation, relating to the Trust Fund Code, relating to coal industry, health benefits, relating to group health plan, portability, access, and renewability requirements. In general, the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, enacted on October 22nd, 1986, has heretofore, hereby, and hereafter amended and may be cited as the Internal Revenue Code of 2019. Except when inappropriate, any reference in any law, executive order, or other document to the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 shall include a reference to the Internal Revenue Code of 2019, and the Internal Revenue Code of 2019 shall include a reference to the provisions of the law formerly known as Internal Revenue Code of 1986. For additional conforming amendments, see 202 of this Act. Effective date. Except as otherwise provided in this Act, the amendments made by this Act shall take effect January 1st, 2021. Awesome. Now, for all you people who are worried about, well, if we don't pay taxes, we're not going to have things. How long has our government been shut down and we still have things? All the money that's been collected from taxes doesn't go to America at all, or its people where it should. It goes to foreign corporations and foreign countries. So all the taxes that we're going to be doing are going to actually benefit us. So it's not like we're losing anything, we're only gaining something. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit further, get past the definitions. You guys can read that on your own. And bear with me. I'm going to get to the things. And here we go. Imposition of sales tax. In general, there is hereby imposed a tax on the use or consumption in the United States of taxable property and services. In the calendar year 2021, the tax rate of 23% of the gross payments for the taxable property or service. For years after 2021, the rate of tax is combined federal tax rate percentage as defined in paragraph 3 of the gross payments of the taxable property service. Combined federal tax rate percentage. The combined federal tax rate percentage is the sum of the general revenue rate as defined in paragraph 4, the old age, survivors, and disability insurance rate, and the hospital insurance rate. Looks like we're going to take care of a whole lot of fun stuff with this. In general, the person using or consuming taxable property or services in the United States is liable for the tax imposed by this section except as provided in paragraph 2 of this subsection. The exception where tax paid to the seller. A person using or consuming a taxable property or service in the United States is not liable for the tax imposed by this section if a person pays the tax to a person selling the taxable property or services and receives such person a purchaser's receipt within the meaning of the section 509. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? Bad debt credit. Any person who has experienced a bad debt other than unpaid invoices within the meaning of section B shall be entitled to a credit equal to the product of the rate imposed by section 101 and the quotient, that is the amount of bad debt as defined there, quantity, that is 1 minus the rate imposed by this one. Any person electing the accrual method pursuant to section 503 that has, with respect to a transaction, invoiced the tax imposed by section 101, remitted the invoice tax, actually delivered the tax property, or performed taxable service invoiced, and not been paid 180 days after the invoice was paid. Are we looking at debt relief? Looking that way. We get rid of the Federal Reserve, and you owe Federal Reserve notes. Do you think you still owe them if we don't have them? Interesting. People are going to get refunds. Other persons, if a person other than a registered seller has an overpayment for any month upon application by the person in a form prescribed by the sales tax administering authority, the credit balance due shall be refunded to the person within 60 days of receipt of said application. So, if you're paying tax and somebody else has already paid that tax, you don't have to pay that tax again. This is perfect. No interest shall be paid on any balance due from the sales tax administering authority under this subsection for any month if such balance is paid within 60 days after the application for refund is received. Balances due not paid within 60 days after the application for refund is received shall bear interest from the date of application. Interest shall be paid at the federal short-term rate as defined here. So basically what they're saying, you apply for your refund, and if they don't get it to you within 60 days, they're going to give you interest on top of that. Suspension period to pay tax refund only if federal or state court ruling. The 60-day periods under subsections A and B shall be suspended with respect to a purported overpayment. Only during any period if there is in effect a preliminary, temporary, or final ruling from a federal or state court, there is reasonable cause to believe that such overpayment may not actually be due. We're going to have a family consumption allowance. I don't know exactly what it means, but we're going to find out in section 301, family consumption allowance, qualified family, monthly poverty level, rebate mechanism, change in family circumstances. So they're going to give families help to fix all this stuff that's bad with our country so we can live better. This is amazing. Each qualified family shall be eligible to receive a sales tax rebate each month. The sales tax rebate shall be in an amount equal to the product of the rate of tax imposed by section 101 and the monthly poverty level. That means that these things are going to change based on how good or bad we're doing. Interesting. That's called like a learning curve. To determine the size of a qualified family for purposes of this chapter, family members shall mean an individual and the individual's spouse, all lineal ancestors and descendants of said individual and such individual's spouse, all legally adopted children of such individual, and all children under legal guardianship of such individual. Wow. So anybody who claims to be part of your family or part of your family in the past is eligible. Interesting. Goes into students living away from the home. Let's go into this one. Children of divorced or separated parents. If a child's parents are divorced or legally separated, a child, for purposes of this chapter, shall be treated as part of the qualified family of the custodial parent. In cases of joint custody, the custodial parent, for purposes of this chapter, shall be the parent that has custody of the child for more than one half of the time during a given calendar year. A parent entitled to be treated as the custodial parent pursuant to this paragraph may release the claim to the other parent if said release is in writing. Beautiful. You gotta register your family allowance annually. Fair enough. Monthly poverty level. The annual level determined by the Department of Health and Human Services poverty guidelines required by Section 652 and 673, paragraph 2 of the Omnibus Reconciliation Act of 1981 for a particular family size. In cases of families that include a married couple, the annual marriage penalty elimination amount. The annual marriage penalty elimination amount shall be the amount that is 2 times the annual level determined by the Department of Health and Human the annual level determined by them of the omnibus rebate mechanism. The Social Security Administration shall provide a monthly sales tax rebate to duly registered qualified families in an amount determined in accordance with Section 301. Persons receiving the rebate, the payments shall be made to the persons designated by the qualifying family in the annual or revised registration for each qualified family. In effect, with respect to the month for which the payment is being made, payments may only be made to persons 18 years or older. If more than one person is designated in a registration to receive the rebate, then the rebate payment shall be divided evenly between or among these persons designated. When rebates are mailed, rebates shall be mailed on or before the first business day of the month for which the rebate is being provided. Smart cards and direct electronic deposit permissible. The Social Security Administration may provide rebates in the form of smart cards that carry cash balances in their memory for the use in making purchases at retail establishments or by direct electronic deposit. Are we redoing the entire financial system here? It looks that way. So, this one has to do with the change in family circumstances. Then we're going to go over some of the titles of the next ones, and then we're going to call it a day because this is awesome information. I need you guys to go out and read this. Contact your local politicians. Get this bill to pass. Change the way we live forever. This is not a Republican or a Democratic thing. This is a slavery thing, and we are all that. So when there's a change in family circumstances, in the absence of the filing of a revised registration in accordance with this chapter, the common residence of a qualified family, marital status, and number of persons in a qualified family on the family registration date shall govern determinations required to be made under this chapter for purposes of the following calendar year. No double counting. In no event shall any person be considered part of more than one qualified family. Revised registration permissible. A qualified family may file a revised registration for purposes of Section 302D to reflect the change in family circumstances. A revised registration form shall provide the name of each family member who shared the qualifying family's residence and the filing date of the revised registration, the Social Security number of each family member who shared the qualified family's residence on the filing date of the revised registration, the family member or members whom family consumption allowance should be paid, a certification that all listed family members are lawful residents, certification that all family members are sharing the commoner residents that are listed, a certification that no family members were incarcerated on the family's determination date, and the address of the qualified family. So basically, they're just giving provisions on how it goes and what you can do to change things, and you can change things. It's going to create a federal and state cooperative tax administration. It's going to give the authority for sales tax to be collected, federal administrative support for states, federal state tax conferences, federal administration in certain states, the interstate allocation and destination determination, general administrative matters, and the jurisdiction thereof. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I want you to go out and read these stuff too. Other administrative provisions: monthly reports and payments, registration, accounting, penalties, burden of pursuant and burden of production, attorneys and accounting fees, summons, examines, audits, etc. Records, tax to be separately stated in and charged. Coordination with Title 11. Applicable interest rate. This is awesome. I can't wait. Let's get this bill passed, folks. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, independent or other. None of it matters. Let's get rid of the tyranny. Let's get rid of this. The 16th Amendment is bringing us down. The 14th Amendment is bringing us down. You can read all this stuff. I really hope you do. Collections, appeals, and taxpayer rights. We have the power to levy. The Sales Tax Administrating Authority may levy and seize property, garnish wages and salary, and file liens to collect amounts due under this subtitle. A judgment duly rendered by a court of law, and an amount due if the taxpayer has failed to exercise his appeals right under Section 804 or 604, and an amount due if the appeals process determined that the amount remained due and the taxpayer has filed a timely petition of the tax court for relief. So it's saying that if you're poor and you can't pay it, you just have to take steps. And it's saying if you can pay it and you don't pay it, you just have to take steps. Get it paid. This is very simple stuff. This is going to remove a whole lot of bad stuff, and you're going to have a whole lot more money in your pockets. Special rules, hobby activities, gaming activities, government purposes. Let's see what this hobby activities is. Neither the exemption afforded by Section 102 for intermediate sales nor the credits available pursuant to Section 202 and 203 shall be available for any taxable property or service purchased for the use in an activity if that the activity is not engaged in for profit. If the inactivity has received gross payments for the sale of taxable property or services that exceed the sum of taxable property and services purchased, wages and salaries paid, taxes of any type paid, in 2 or more of the most recent 3 calendar years during which it operated, then the business's activities shall be conclusively deemed to be engaged in for profit. So you could do all kinds of things as long as you're not looking to be a super profit person. That's awesome. Checks and balances, folks. They go into the financial intermediation service. This is a long bill, folks. Section 9, additional matters. This is all great information, folks, and what I need you guys to do is go out and read this for yourself. Get out there, be vocal, be active. Let's look at some other matters real quick. Appropriations for any expenses of the Internal Revenue Service, including processing tax returns for years prior to the repeal of the taxes and repealed by Title I of this Act. Revenue, accounting, management, transfer of payroll and wage data to the Social Security Administration for years after the fiscal year 2023 shall not be authorized. Yeah, no more Federal Reserve. No more federal income taxes. We're going to pay for our families by a regular tax on buying stuff, and you're only going to be taxed once. Sales tax inclusive Social Security benefits indexation. Look, I told you guys it's gonna be paid for. It's gonna be paid for. The national sales tax factor is equal to 1 plus the quotient, that is, the sales tax rate imposed by Section 101 of the Revenue Code of 2019 divided by the quantity, that is 1 minus such sales tax. The sunset of sales tax if 16th Amendment not repealed. So this might be like what's going to happen if they don't repeal the 16th Amendment. Section 401, elimination of sales tax if the 16th Amendment is not repealed. If the 16th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States is not repealed before the end of the 7-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act, then all provisions of and amendments made by this act shall not apply to any use or consumption in any year beginning on the after December 31st of the calendar year in which or with which the such period ends, except the Sales Tax Bureau of the Department of the Treasury shall not be terminated until 6 months after such date. So look, we're gonna get rid of it. It looks like if this passes, we're gonna get rid of all this stuff. Then our constitutional people, we need to get out there and repeal the 16th Amendment. This is gonna take the people. It's going to take the congressmen, and it's going to take a lot of pushing and shoving as far as vocally and paperworkly. Get out there. Bug the heck out of them. Make sure that they know this is what you want. This is how we're going to move forward with life in a much more meaningful way. To that I say, pay your taxes. This has been YT with YT TV, informing you of the news and everything to come. You guys have a wonderful, blessed day, night, evening. And we'll come back at you with some more videos in the future. Please like, share, and subscribe. Pass the word. We do this for free.